Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerTube, and welcome back to our Poppy Playtime character concept series. So in today's video we'll be going into our part 2 of our Boxy Boo story. So we'll be going into their new look, their location, their gameplay mechanics and all that good stuff as well. As always, I will just state that this is not definitive of what will actually happen in the game, and it's not really linked to the overall universe and lore of Poppy Playtime. This is just a fun what if scenario and a creepy story we get to tell, and we hope you enjoy. And lastly, before we start today's video, do be sure to subscribe to GamerTube as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. It also keeps you up to date with all the videos that we post. Alrighty, well, let's get into the character concept of Boxy Boo Part 2. So previously in our Poppy Playtime character concept series, we took a look at the character of Boxy Boo and what their involvement in the story could be. Our protagonists found themselves in the tiny toddler section of the factory. This was where all the toys for ages 1 and up were manufactured. In this area, the player came up against the evil toy character Boxy Boo. After running away from Boxy Boo and taking them on in the final segment, the player lodged Boxy into one of the overhead air extraction valves where they couldn't move anymore. The player then finally made their exit and escaped Boxy's grasp. Or so they thought. Little did they know that this just made Boxy into something far more furious. So as our protagonist walks down a long corridor, they come to the end. It seems to be a dead end. The only way forward is a hatch in the middle of the floor. Well, it looks like they're going down from here on out. As they descend down the ladder, they come to a dark underground area. What is this place? It was cold and off-putting. Something didn't seem right about this place at all. They decided to keep on pushing forward until they found a way out. As it is and always will be, their objective is to escape the factory, and they feel like they'll never get out of here. After searching around this underground facility, they come across a small looking office. On the desk was a number of scattered notes and papers. They pick up a note that explains exactly what this dark and nefarious place is. This place is called the Extraction Center. Not many workers knew about this secret location underneath the facility. And out of all the locations at Playtime Co., this had to be one of the darkest and most sinister. So if the process of bonding poor orphan souls to the toys wasn't bad enough, there was another problem the company would face. What happens to a soul that doesn't bond properly to a toy? Or what happens if the soul-bound toy doesn't cooperate or act in a fashion that was favourable to their desired effect? Well, this is where those troublesome toys would be sent to. This is the place where the troublesome souls get extracted from the toys and then discarded. Who knows what happens to these poor souls? Or even how you dispose of a soul? It didn't seem possible. But it definitely was, considering all the horrors they've seen so far. As they enter back out into the dark hallways of the extraction center, they hear a loud roar in the distance. Oh no, now what was it? Whatever this thing was, it didn't sound happy, that's for sure. As the player keeps moving forward in this maze of corridors, they come to the end. And what they see is quite bizarre indeed. This must be the machine. This must be what they use to extract the souls out of the troublesome toys. But it doesn't seem to be active at the moment. It seems that they need to turn on the power in order to activate it. But the soul extraction machine wasn't what they wanted to turn the power on for. What they actually needed the power to be on for was the door behind it. That seemed to be the exit. So if they were able to turn the power back on, then this would be their way out of here. So they set off to find the generators in order to... The player ducks out of the way just in time to avoid a deadly attack from Boxy Boo. But what has happened to them? Why do they look like this? All of their fabric skin was matted and ripped, and their teeth and claws look deadlier than ever. The player has no choice but to run back into the maze of corridors and try to lose this monstrous feral version of Boxy. But this time, Boxy was determined to destroy the player for what they did to them. And they wouldn't be so easy to lose, not this time. So in this gameplay segment, the player needs to quickly run away from the feral Boxy and activate the generator switches throughout the corridors. There would be 4 switches with a glowing red light above them. When the player activates them, they would turn green, so the player knows that this switch is already complete. They would need to run through the maze of corridors and hunt down each of these switches. All while Boxy Boo is giving chase to the player. They would never stop chasing the player throughout this gameplay segment, and if Boxy catches up to the player, it would end in an instant death. So our player continues to run around and search for the switches. They come across the first one and activate it. Okay, 1 down and 3 to go. Whilst running, Boxy would appear in front of them. They need to stop immediately and change direction. Unlike last time, pressing the big star on their box wouldn't work. Their body wouldn't collapse back into the box due to it being too damaged. So the player has no choice but to run for their life. They finally lose Boxy and activate the second switch. Boxy lets out another roar in the distance. It seems that they're getting angrier. Boxy would be much faster when hunting down the player, but before they can find the player again, they've already activated the third switch. Only 1 more to go. As the player runs, they can sense that Boxy is getting closer and closer. They need to pick up the pace and they can't stop for even a second. After looking all over the place, finally they locate the 4th and final switch. They activate it, and now all they need to do is make their way back to the door. For some reason, as they run this time, they can sense that Boxy Boo isn't chasing them. He seems to be standing still for some reason. When they finally arrive at the door, they get greeted by the deranged Boxy himself. They knew it. They knew that they'd be waiting for them at the exit. Boxy attacks the player as they fall over to the ground. The player realises that Boxy is standing right next to the extraction machine. Maybe this could finally defeat them once and for all. The player quickly activates the switch and the machine springs to life. Boxy gets drawn into the machine as it starts to extract their soul from their body. Their eyes start to drain as they turn into a soulless white colour. A few seconds later and the machine was done with its devious task. Boxy's lifeless body stands there motionless. Finally this was over and Boxy Boo was no more. The player makes their exit and prepares themselves for whatever this factory has in store for them next. So this brings us to the end of Boxy's story in the character concept series. I think what Boxy could offer to the overall story as an enemy would be quite interesting. I definitely know their role in Project Playtime will be quite awesome, but as to if they'll ever transition from Project Playtime into the actual story of Poppy Playtime, we'll just have to wait and see. Alrighty everyone, well that's what we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. And as always, do be sure to let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of this part 1 and 2 series of Boxy Boo and what you'd like to see going forward. Alrighty, well, until the next video, I'll catch you later, bye.